the chair of the board of LexArt, the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society, and just delighted that we've got more than 100 people online here. Great to see everyone. Let me just take a moment to tell you a little bit about the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society. There are, I'm seeing one chat saying someone can't hear me. Other people hear me all right? Yes, okay, well, so the person who can't hear me so well, please try to pump up your volume. So the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society, LexArt, we are an 86-year organization located in the center of Lexington, Massachusetts, a community arts organization. We are dedicated to bringing art to the community and the community to art. We have classes, we have shows, exhibits. We have guilds that make things and we share with people. We like to bring people in and to learn how to engage in art. COVID's been a challenge for us, as it has been for everyone. And this series, LexArt Inspires, grew out of the pandemic, and it was part of our response to say, how can we continue to connect with our community? And you know, in the depths of the spring, when people were kind of depressed and feeling very disconnected from each other, we thought, well, let's see what we can do to help bring the inspiration and creativity of arts to our community. We've been delighted to be able to expand. We thought, let's get.
Make it louder.
I'm sorry, someone. Okay.
Yeah, Wayne, it is kind of quiet. I don't know if you can talk closer to the computer, mic or something.
Let me do that. Is that any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Terribly sorry, and I will keep my voice raised. As I was about to say, what we are trying to do here is break our own creative bounds. LexArt has often been associated with the visual arts, and we've said with this series, what can we do to expand beyond our own traditional bounds and learn what we can from other art forms and other artists. And so we are absolutely delighted to have the great duo of Billy Novick and Guy Van Duser, known to many of you, known to many of us, and beloved throughout New England and really around the country for the last 40 plus years. And so we've invited them to share with us what turns them on, how they work with each other, and all of that. So with that, let me just turn it over to Guy and Billy, and they will tell us a little bit more about what they've got planned and introduce our special guest interviewer to you as well. Take it away, guys.
Guy, you want to do this or should I take this?
Take it.
Okay, so thanks for having us. This is great. My kids went to Lexington Arts places and stuff like that. It's about 300 yards from my house, so it's very personal to me. We're going to talk about, we can't, because it's, we're sort of virtual, we can't really play together. We'll talk about our music, our career. We hope to get to all of your questions and stuff like that. And this is great. Thanks for all tuning in. So many of you I haven't seen or heard from in years. It's kind of like my second bar mitzvah without the gifts. But I'd like to introduce the person who's interviewing us. Is just not some sort of schlub off the street. It's a good friend of ours from Mark Greenberg. He's, gosh, followed us from almost like the very beginning. He's a musician, author, journalist, radio person, and just an incredibly knowledgeable person about music and knowledgeable about our music. Years ago, Mark is from Montpelier, lives in Montpelier, and he would like book us for little Vermont tours. We'd stay at his house and stuff like that. So it's a real friendship that's been ongoing, and it's great to kind of reconnect with him. I haven't seen him about 10 years ago, for 10 years or so. So, and I also knew he'd do it for free. So it's a big component of this. You there, Mark? So without further ado, here's Mark Greenberg.
Thanks, Billy. We have seen each other more recently than 10
That's
years,
true.
though. Black Eagles have been to Randolph.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Plus you were in Montpelier. That might have been 10 years ago.
That was
one
10 years ago.
summer.
I forgot the Black
Yeah,
Eagles.
was it really that long? Okay, let's enough of the chit chat. It's great to be doing this, and I really thank Billy and Guy for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor, and I'll do the best I can. There's so many people on the screen, I tend to get a little lost and distracted, and I'm trying to keep track of the questions too. But let me get things started by asking, we've just heard from Billy. So Guy, there may be, it sounds like you both know just about everybody who's here and they know you, but still a little background about how Guy Van Duser and Billy Novick became Guy Van Duser and Billy Novick.
Wow. Well, um, we actually met each other because we both played for modern dance. Um, Bill was working with a particular choreographer, and I was working with a different choreographer, both of them up here in Cambridge, in Massachusetts. And at that time, a lot of dance concerts were done to recorded music. And so both of these choreographers were interested in having live music. And so one of them contacted me, and unbeknownst to me, another choreographer on the program contacted Billy. And so we ended up being on the same program without totally knowing nothing about each other at all. And we both found ourselves in the auditorium that for the dress rehearsal. And Billy was over in one corner, and he had his clarinet, and he had a bass player and a drummer. So he was set up to do a trio, and I was doing a solo guitar uh, performance behind the choreographer I was working with. And um, I guess it was I was doing a kind of a new age thing before there was new age, because this would be back in 1975 when this concert was given. I think it was around September of that year. And so I could see him over on the other side of the hall, with his clarinet, warming up with his band and everything. And I got all excited, and I thought, wow, because I've always loved swing music. I always had. And I thought, gee, here's a clarinet player. Let's get to know each other. So I walked up. Finally, I got my courage up first, I guess, and I walked over to Billy and I said, hey, I'm me, you're you. Do you know any Benny Goodman? Right off the top of my head. And he said, yeah, I know some of that. And we just, right from there, we started to talk. And one thing kind of led to another while the dancers were warming up and everything. And the next thing we knew, we had decided to play some tunes, kind of while we called it music to be seated by, as the audience was coming in. I just said to Billy, hey, do you know, I don't even remember what the tunes were. Do you, Bill? Sweet George Brown or something like
I think
that?
Rose Room, I think we did one. Can I just interject something? So if you know Guy at all, this will have special meaning to you. So the group I was playing with, I walked in, Guy was playing this incredibly beautiful thing. I'd never heard a guitarist play like that. But the group I was playing was playing avant-garde jazz. So it's and only Guy would come over and say, hey, do you know any Benny Goodman songs? You'd never make the one would never make the connection necessarily. But of course I did. So it worked out perfectly like that. But it was just why? Just because I play clarinet, I guess. But it's it was great. It's like me walking up to a classical guitarist and saying, do you know any Van Halen? Yeah, that's
I might have surprised you, but it was too soon. But yeah, that's true. I walked right by what you were actually doing and just play what I wanted to hear.
Exactly. It was great. It was wonderful.
By the end of the evening, we had a quartet together, and we just started calling tunes at each other. And both of us play and remember music totally by ear. And so we found ourselves with an entire little setlet that we played. And the dance concert was actually given 3 nights in a row. And we played every night before the dancers and the official choreography. We just did our little swing set. And then I do remember that after that, I said to Billy, this is too good to stop. I'm having a great time. How about we keep doing this? And he was working with another guitar player at the time. And he said, I'm actually, I think, Bill, you said you were in 3 bands right then, 3 different ones.
I think so. Yeah, it would make sense. Yeah.
So you just couldn't take another thing on. And we didn't, we just said, okay, well, it's nice to know you. And we didn't connect up again until Christmas of that same year, Christmas 1975. And Billy called me up and said, "Hey, I got some free time. How about you want to come over, or I'll come over there and we can just play some tunes." And that's when we actually got started working
Yeah.
together and thinking about what we'd want to do. And in February of 1976 was our first concert together at the Passim Coffee House in Cambridge, in Harvard Square. And we played on Valentine's Day, as a matter of fact, in 1976. And so that adds up to 45 to 45 years. Close enough.
Yeah.
This
Great.
February.
How's that possible?
Yeah.
I
So
know.
when you started playing, at least on your first recordings, you played a variety of music. There were the swing and the standards, but you also did an occasional fiddle tune. You did Guy on your solo albums, and Billy, you did the penny whistle albums that had all kinds of tunes on them and wide range of things. But over the years, you've pretty much gone into focused on the standards and the swing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Why? Where'd all the other stuff go?
Me first?
Oh, sure.
Honestly,
You,
I
yeah.
started to feel like a bit of an imposter. I felt like I don't really do that stuff. I mean, people liked it. I felt I wasn't really doing it all that well. I felt I was sort of like immersing myself in a tradition which fascinated me, but it wasn't sort of really me. I mean, like jazz, early jazz, any kind of jazz, but also early jazz, pre-swing even is sort of what I was always loved, always raised on, stuff like that. I felt, why dabble? Why don't I just take a chance and do like what I really love to do? Part of the penny whistle stuff and the fiddle tunes is I'm versatile guys too. We love different kinds of music, but at some point it's like, all right, I got to really just say this is what I do, and like, or largely what I do, and just have to sort of go with it. It's kind of like, feels like more honest to me than just sort of like dabbling in different things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but just it started to feel like I'm being an imposter.
Interesting.
Well, also there's a few clubs like Passim in Cambridge, for instance, that will let you be kind of eclectic and do more than one thing. And we did the whistle stuff also because I was also playing with a bluegrass band, and I knew a lot of fiddle tunes, and so it was there in my repertoire too. But eventually, as we began to book ourselves wider, it actually became necessary to play pretty much one kind of music. If we were going to play swing jazz, we would get hired in the swing jazz clubs, and they were not really looking for traditional Irish penny whistle as part of the set, or vice versa. We'd play for a folk festival, and the swing was considered kind of unique and unusual, and at that time anyway, not everybody had crossed over into swing yet. Space grass hadn't been invented, but we had kind of the same issue in reverse. If we played too much clarinet and swing music, the audiences, it was hard to know which audience you had, and so the venues themselves helped us decide to kind of go one way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in terms of the swing and the standards, and you described early on what you were doing, Guy, you said it, you called it old music. Let me see, I wrote it down somewhere, but I'll never find it. Oh yeah, old but new. Old but new. And you also called yourself the two-man band. So
Two-man big band, actually.
Two-man big band, that's right. So obviously swing tunes and standards were what your repertoire was made up of. But who were you hearing? What musicians, what bands, what sounds were you trying to, in some way, just the two of you, incorporate or encapsulate, while not copying anybody, being yourselves, new, old but new?
Well, I think
first,
for myself, I grew up listening to swing because my father had a tape recorder, and he had recordings of all Benny Goodman, and all the big bands, and that was the stuff he loved. And I got started playing with him, because after he got a guitar, he bought me one, and we used to play duets together. That was the kind of music he wanted to play, and so I learned it. And I want to watch that? I'll watch it with you. To me, and so by the time I met Billy, I knew hundreds of swing tunes, and I had learned them, from my father and from those recordings. And I couldn't possibly name all the recordings that he used to play around the house. But as far as when Billy and I got started playing the stuff together, one of the things that we did that really fascinated me is because I had been just listening to my dad sing the standard ones that they call them standards because everybody knows them. Billy had done a lot of history homework, and he knew the early recordings of people like Sidney Bechet and Duke Ellington and things that I hadn't listened to. And so we found ourselves selecting our performance material from tunes that were not ever all that popular, or they might have been at the time. I mean, some of our early repertoire was from like 1927, and it was no longer current. Some people would ask us if we wrote this stuff, and we were always honest about it. Say, no, we didn't. This is an old Duke Ellington recording or something like that. But we deliberately tried to find the more eclectic side of the swing stuff, partly just so that it would not be the same, 2 or 3 dozen tunes that everybody seems to play when you go hear a swing band.
Yeah.
So we had a lot, and Billy was the one who turned me on to that, which also taught me that he had been listening to that same kind of music for a long, long time before he met me, because he was already with dozens and dozens of tunes suggestions that he had for me that I hadn't heard. So he kind of fascinated me that way.
Yeah.
So my background was I came from a reasonably musical family, and I started playing clarinet because my parents were Depression era people, and my brother played clarinet and stopped playing, so they weren't going to buy me new instruments. So I started playing clarinet, and my brother played in a Dixieland band on the radio. That was very impressive. So I got attracted to that music. But as a teenager, I liked everything. As Guy liked lots of stuff, rock, blues. But also I had what I call my three kind of idols at that point. And there were three totally disparate people in one sense. And older jazz people say, how could you like this or whatever? So from the 1920s, the great clarinet player Johnny Dodds, very soulful player. From the 1940s and on, Johnny Hodges. These are all three Johnnies, just coincidentally. Johnny Hodges was the sax player, lead alto player in Duke Ellington's band, and featured solos with a gorgeous, beautiful silken kind of sound and stuff. I also play sax for those that don't know. And then John Coltrane. So playing much more kind of avant-garde kind of stuff. And there seemed to be no disparity between all of them. I loved all of them. They all played with a lot of passion, a lot of soul and stuff like that. So that was my big thing. But what really got me going is I grew up on Long Island. And when I was about 13 or 14, I used to take the train into Manhattan and go to Sam Goody's record store and go to the discount bin. Why should I pay $8 for a record when I can get a record for 99 cents? And there are certain records I got almost just by chance that changed my life musically. And here's one of them. Jelly Roll Morton and his Red Hot Peppers. I've never seen anyone else have this record before. It's got, to me, about 12 of his best songs. I mean, Jelly Roll Morton, if you don't know, was the sort of self-proclaimed founder of New Orleans jazz, and was one of the most formative influences on the music. And I just happened to have this record. I didn't know anything about chords. I didn't know anything about song structure, but I just kind of, like Guy will tell you later on, I just memorized the entire record. And so someone say, call a certain tune. Half the time I didn't know the name of it, but I didn't know what the melody was, but I certainly knew what the clarinet part was. That's how I really learned. And another record, the same thing, Funky Blues. This is Jazz at the Philharmonic put these all-star records together with some of the greatest jazz players. They just jammed. And in this record, which the only person, believe it or not, I've ever seen have this is Jay Guiles, of all people, the rock star player. And this is just the greatest sax players, just soloing one after another, just sort of like, and that's how I got exposed to their styles. And it just sort of, I absorbed it and became part of my musical vocabulary, as well as all the other stuff too. So and then I, of course, branched out and got like every single old jazz record I could find, and swing air stuff. And I was always more attracted to the bluesy stuff than the sort of straight ahead swing thing. So I always liked, Ben Webster in that era, and Johnny Dodds and Jimmy Noon, and Louis Armstrong in the older era.
Yeah, great. You want to, Guy? Yeah.
Well, I didn't think to bring an album cover over to hold up, but if I did, the cover that I would hold up would be Fingerstyle Guitar by Chet Atkins.
Perfect.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How about that?
That leads us into something that if anybody has heard Guy and Billy or Guy alone in concert, you've probably heard about this and you've probably heard him play this, but it still, to me, is one of the ear-boggling things on guitar. Today, to get in the mood for tonight, I listened to album after album of yours. Vinyl, I haven't listened to anything on vinyl in a long time, but it was great. And it was just as exciting today as it was when I first heard it, when a friend of mine, the late Marshall Friedland, called me up after Guy's first album came out and said, "You got to hear this guy, you got to hear this guy." And it was on the basis of that we came down. Marshall was the photographer and I interviewed you for Frets.
That's right.
And that's where I first heard the story. It's such a good story, and you can even demonstrate it because we have video or visual ability. So, Chet Atkins, you were listening to Chet Atkins and you heard one particular song.
Well, I have about 40 of Chet's LPs actually, so it was more than one particular song, but I know the song that
that I'm going for.
You're interested in. What I used to do, the way I taught myself to play guitar, once I heard Chet play, I had been playing with just a straight pick. And once I heard Chet play, realized he was using all 12 fingers on both hands. And I was just totally fascinated. But this was long enough ago that there was no YouTube to study from. There was no tablature. There were none of these lesson DVDs or anything. The only thing I had were those LP records. And so I used to play those LPs. And I'd put the needle on to whatever. Usually I'd just start with the first cut and I'd let it play for a few seconds. And then I'd get my guitar. I'm going to tilt this down. You won't see my face, but you'll see my hands. And I would tilt the guitar down. I'd tilt the guitar down. There we go. No. I would pick the needle up and then I would try to find whatever I had just heard, just sounding it out by ear. Wherever the notes were on the fretboard, that's where I memorized them from. And so I learned where all of the sounds were. And just like Billy, I didn't know anything about chords or music theory or anything like that at the time, but I knew what I was hearing and I knew Chet was good. It really was grabbing me, and I'm lucky I picked such a good model because he was such an excellent musician for his whole career, and he inspired that in me as well to try to be the best musician I could. So as I would copy these recordings, I would just go through tune after tune after tune, learning them. And one of the ones that caught my ear was a song called Caravan. And that was, originally it was a Duke Ellington song. And so Billy and I can still perform it together because we both have this strong interest in Ellington's music. But I learned it from Chet Atkins' recording at the time, and Chet was playing it in this finger style where he would keep time with his thumb down on the bass string, and then he would play the melody on the top strings, and he would do the whole thing at the same time. Like so. So he was his own backup band. And this, of course, later on is going to lead to Billy and I being a duo rather than a quartet. Our first recording started out as a quartet recording, by the way. Right. And then after that, we gave that up because, for one thing, it was easier to travel light. There were just the two of us, and we could get around easier, less equipment and everything. Plus, I was, doing what you needed to have from the band at the same time. Now, I know what Mark is interested in this particular little Caravan version is that there's a trick to it, because Chet was recording using a tape echo machine with his electric guitar plugged right into the tape echo machine, which records all the notes you play as you play them, and then plays them right back at you like an echo. So if you play this, the machine makes it sound like this. You see, you'd get like an imitated reflection. Well, I didn't know when I listened to the recording at first, I didn't even know that it was being done that way. I simply thought that Chet had figured out a way to get a nice bouncy sound out of his bass strings So I taught myself to play the actual notes he was playing and also the echo notes that the machine was making at the same time. So I can make this sound like this. And then Chet would still put the melody on top of it, on the recording, because of course he hadn't used up as many fingers as I had. So it's a little more of a challenge when I'm trying to do it, but this is what it sounds like. And so on and so on. And then eventually Billy, in our arrangement, Billy comes in and joins me, and then we can turn it into a real big band sounding tune. But that's an ability that I developed way back as a teenager, was being able to play my own bass and chord rhythm behind the melody notes that I wanted to play at the same time. So that's kind of where the two-man big band idea came from.
You didn't have to slow the record down in order to figure out what was being played.
Well, I couldn't even do that at first. Eventually, I got a turntable that would play at 16 2/3.
Yeah.
And
We
then
used to put our finger on the
then
album to slow it down.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was actually harder, because then I had to transpose everything back up to fit
Mhm.
the guitar, because it was all an octave lower.
Right.
So it was easier for me just to listen to the recording enough times, and then also it still had the rhythm with it and everything else. I was
Yeah.
a complete piece.
Can I make a point that's, I think we're all kind of alluding to a bit, is the importance of records in our musical development.
Mhm.
I mean,
Boy.
I played in a high school band, but I got thrown out actually, believe it or not, for going to a Pete Seeger concert. But I read music, but not all that great, but just learned by my ear, listening to records, would play along with records.
Yeah.
If a record was for some reason like too fast or too slow, I remember learning a Charlie Parker tune in the key of E, which never happens because the record was faster than it should be. It got sped up and something, it got transferred or something like that. So it didn't, just that's how you learn things. It's like, and that, I don't know if that's still happening, which is a shame, because there's so many. I mean, it's great, obviously, to have organized music and ensembles and stuff like that. But I don't know if kind of the younger generation is learning the way we did, and it's fine that they don't. But I think there's so much in terms of developing your ear, just learning stuff by ear. And it's like, I never really took an ear training class or anything like that. It's just, you do it from that's how you learn things. I learned solos by listening to them. I learned tunes by listening to them. I learned everything by listening to it, even if I didn't really know what was going on. And it's just so important for musical development, particularly if you're playing a music that's really rooted in the style, because you really learn the language that way.
That's a good way to put it, Bill. We learned the language by speaking the language, and we learned it. It's kind of puts us in an oral tradition in a sense.
Right.
It's true. Yeah.
That's right. So you didn't learn from tablature or that. There was just tablature. There was tablature when you were starting, but there wasn't much like today. You can learn anything from anyone on tablature.
Oh, well, there are so many advantages today that they are advantages. They make it a lot easier to learn arrangements. Certainly. I'm, as a professor now at Berkeley, I get beginning students coming in who can play very, very intricate arrangements, but if I ask them to play, just a simple melody like Happy Birthday by ear on the fretboard, they have to struggle. They struggle to do it because they've gotten all their information from places like tablature. And
by the way, you should tell people what tablature is. I think a lot of people don't know what it is.
Tablature is a way of, if you don't read sheet music, I think most of us have seen sheet music, manuscript music. Tablature is a numerical code using a drawing of the horizontal strings of a guitar, and you put numbers. The printed material has numbers right on the fretboard that show you exactly where to put your finger and what finger to put there. And if you simply follow the dots, it's almost like reading. If anybody remembers what piano rolls look like when they used to go through the old player pianos, they had holes punched in all the right spots. And that will, in fact, they now make a guitar that will do the same thing digitally. You put the right information. You ask for the song
Really?
you want digitally, you put it in there, and the fretboard of the guitar has little LEDs on it that light up at the next place you're supposed to put your fingers.
Hey
And
guys, you think we should have a song played at this point?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
yeah, there's been a lot of talking actually.
Yeah, I know, and
let's-
that and maybe take a second to describe how we come to arrangements. This is
that
something
was going to be my next question. Good.
Yeah, so I think Wayne has queued up a Wolverine Blues, which is a Joe and Morton song.
Hmm.
Hey, there you
And,
go.
and sort of, I think I could summarize that without getting too technical. On the basis of our arrangements, this guy said he's the bass player in the rhythm section and the chords and everything like that. And we do generally, I sort of play on top of that. I'll play a melody. Sometimes Guy will harmonize with me while he's playing the bass lines and stuff. Sometimes he'll play kind of a counterpoint. Sometimes he'll just kind of play rhythm behind me, which just sort of supports what I'm doing and doesn't play any kind of melodic stuff. And we try to mix all that together. We do a lot of key changes. With the two of us, we don't have any other instruments to sort of like, all right, trumpet player, take a solo, or bass player, take a solo. So we have to be very imaginative in how we present the music. Generally, you hear people play this music. It's often just the same key and they play and everyone does their thing and it's wonderful. If there's a singer involved, sometimes they'll change keys, but we figure we have to like use all the tricks we can get to keep the music sort of, you know, really vital and, you know, and moving along, and it's worked for us, you know. But in the Jelly Roll Morton thing, as I was describing earlier in Wolverine Blues, it's got all these different sections, and those I actually did know. But and the sections are great because we play them. We take turns playing the melodies on the section, then we each solo over the different sections. So if you listen carefully, as an introduction, there's what we call an A section, a B section, A section, little thing, and then we get to the final section, and we'll take solos on it. And I've stopped the video I gave Wayne after Guy's guitar solo because it keeps on going. I figured that's enough or something like that. So you want to hear, this is from a live concert in Marblehead. The sound isn't great. The sound quality isn't great. The camera work isn't like top notch, but I think we're gonna get a real sense if you haven't heard us or haven't heard us recently of what we sound like. So this is Wolverine Blues.
Okay, here we go. Just 1 second.
Yeah, I have no idea. Sorry, but we don't know
Holy
what that
cow.
was. It's our first technical snafu. It might have been we tried playing the videos, but we never tried playing them all the way through. And maybe it's something that happened. Sorry that it got like that. I hope you got enough of the sense of the music. And because of Zoom, we can't play live together. There's a latency problem, so there's a lag, and it's people have tried zillions of things to do it and haven't quite found anything yet. But one thing I'd like to say, and I think people might ask this, is that what we just did is probably about what 75% improvised, Guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
About that, there's a melody which for each section, which I refer to play once somewhat straight, and then probably don't play straight again, and we're always kind of changing it. There's a form of structure we follow, but and this comes to one of the basic fundamental things about our approach to music. I grew up totally playing improvised music. I mean, I play free jazz for hours if I could, and you know, I like playing songs, but mostly I'm into the improvisation part. That's what got me into music. That still inspires me. Guy was much more. What word would you use?
I was playing arrangements. I was learning all different arrangements from Chet Atkins and other people. So everything I was playing was memorized.
So,
And when I ran into you at first, I was so envious of the fact that you could just take off and play a whole new melody or a whole new part to what you were doing. Because originally, if you'll remember, when we first started together, I had to work out all my solos very carefully and memorize them. And eventually, just listening to you, I realized, hey, I don't have to do that. I could just, think of something else right on the spot maybe and make it work. It wasn't quite that easy. It took quite a few years to get
but
with the idea of just taking the chance, just going in and playing something that I hadn't played the last time I played that tune. But also it kind of grew out of, you notice there was no music in front of us. Anybody who was watching the video, from the very beginning of our career as a duet, we have both played all of our sets completely from memory, in the sense that we knew what we wanted to play, or of course we rehearsed and we practiced ahead of time. But it was that very committing it to memory that eventually led to the sense of freedom and greater improvisation, because it was all just between us in our two heads.
Yeah.
And constant, I think we also grew towards one another. Constitutionally, I was like unable to play the same thing twice. I mean, I could, but I just refused to let myself do it. It seemed kind of like, all right, I did that once, why should I do it again? And playing with Guy, he was kind of much stricter. He'd say, hey, you play the melody there, stick to the melody, then I can harmonize with you. Then we can have an arrangement. So I really learned so much discipline from him, and like, I can play the same thing twice, 3 times, 50 times, whatever, because it makes the music work. And so I think we both kind of nudged one another towards the other's sensibility in many ways.
Yeah. So what's the key, Billy, to improvising? Or your approach to improvising? Because what strikes me about your playing and Guy's is that it's creative, it's inventive, but it's melodic. You seem to me to be telling a musical story. Especially if I know the tune that you're playing, I can come into it anywhere. You're not playing the melody, but I know what the tune is within a couple of bars.
Well, at the risk of sounding hokey.
Sounds hokey. Go ahead.
No, I mean, when I play something, pretty much anything, I put myself in a certain mood before I play it. I even tell my students this. I think what I want the song to express. Am I feeling something that I want the song to express? Sometimes, yes. If I'm not feeling something, I can be like an actor and kind of project a feeling, create a feeling. So if I play a blues, I'll feel bluesy. If I'm playing something upbeat, if I don't feel kind of upbeat, I'll sort of force myself to feel upbeat. It's kind of part of the role of being a musician. So first thing I do is put myself in that sort of frame of mind. And that really solves like 90% of the problems. If a problem is considered, what else do you play? You put yourself in that mood. I know harmony very well. I know theory well. When I practice, it sounds crazy, I practice being inventive. I'll practice scales and stuff just to keep my fingers in shape. But mostly when I practice, I'll play a song, hear it in my head, or play along with it, and I practice. How do I be inventive? How can I do something I didn't do before? How can I stretch my imagination? That's what I practice. I don't, I can't I can't play sometimes a simple big band thing that I've heard a million times just because it's not, I mean, I can, but it's not, that's not like what I practice. I practice trying to be creative.
As you're improvising it, either one of you, but let's stick with Billy for now. As you're improvising, I mean, the feeling, getting into the song, all of that, that's all very well and good. But you do, you do have technical knowledge to back that up.
Yes, absolutely.
And
yes,
as you're playing, are you hearing what are you hearing in your head what you want to be playing?
Okay, this is like always, like, it's weird. Sometimes I'll realize I've gone like, and this is not me, I'm sure guys the same way, and many musicians the same way, so this isn't kind of like boasting or anything. I'll have gone like a year and not played a note that I didn't hear beforehand. So unless I make my finger slip or something like that, it's just, you hear it in your head. It's just, and that's a big part of the training from hearing other stuff from, again, practicing it. What I practice is hearing something in my head and be able to play on the instrument. So obviously you need a lot of knowledge on the instrument. So if I know I'm hearing a C in my head, I can find the C in the horn. Sometimes my ear leads my fingers or my brain. Sometimes my intellect leads my brain. It's like, oh, it'd be cool to play a weird note here. And then I'll hear the note. Sometimes when it's really good, it's just all melded together and it just goes by so fluidly. I can't even tell you what creates the sound. Is the sound chasing me? Am I chasing the sound? It just sort of happens kind of all at the same time.
Yeah. Guy, you once told me on the subject of improvisation that your goal, this was many years ago, but your goal was to be able to improvise on any song in any key. And I think you compared that to what Art Tatum was doing or had done. Is that an accurate description of your ambition?
Well, no way have I ever come even close to catching up with Art Tatum. But I think what I did want to, my side of the improvisational idea would be, is that I had always wanted to be a singer, and I never considered that I had much of a voice for singing. But I did, like Billy said, I did think and hear melodically. One of the things a guitar player does, because you're playing an instrument that you don't blow into, is that you do collect ideas that are, some of them are just plain manipulative ideas, just things that the guitar will do just by the things you can do with your fingers. That's why guitar players talk about licks,
right?
Where other people talk about melodies and solos, because there are certain, they're almost like tricks, but they're musical. They sound good. Chet Atkins was full of that kind of thing. And the more people I listened to, the more ideas of that kind I picked up. And eventually, you listen to over dozens and dozens of people, and I start to collect the ideas and remember them. I'm memorizing the sounds again, and it all kind of homogenizes in there after a while, and it just comes out to, you play what you hear. So whenever I'm playing, when I'm improvising, I'm listening to a melody in my head and playing along with what I'm kind of dreaming up as I go. And a lot of guitar players do that. In fact, some very famous ones like Toots Thielemans, who was known as the Whistler because he had a habit of whistling his guitar solos as he played them. Or you can hear other musicians, guitar like Jerry Reed, for example, who will do what he called hum and pick at the same time. And he'll so you ask yourself, here I'll play a melody. Now, was I playing what I was singing, or was I singing what I was playing?
Exactly what I was talking about too. Yeah.
Right. If I'm really on, there's no difference. It's just coming out of two different places of me at the same time. The same idea. And where the idea itself comes from is just the music tells me. Listening to the harmonies in the music tells me. When Billy says he thinks it bluesy, he's also thinking about the natural harmonies that people are used to, who have been playing the blues for decades and listening to the blues for decades and decades. And those sounds are established. They're there. And Bill and I both know how, in our memories and with our instruments, to reference those established kind of the norms of that particular style of music. If it's going to be blues, if it's going to be bebop, Billy's walking around with a whole bunch of bebop ideas and licks. I know he is. And if you want to hear some country picking, you know, I'll get out my Brent Mason stuff or whoever I happen to be listening to right then. And again, I think both Billy and I are kind of a melting pot of different styles. He's a clarinet historian. He named the people that he was interested in, but he can also sound like every one of them. If Ken Burns wanted to get at him and say, all right, let's hear some Johnny Dodds, Billy would play you some. And the nuances would be there, the mannerisms would be there. And if you want me to play a Chet Atkins tune the way Chet Atkins would have played it, I can do that, because the mannerisms, as well as just the note, not just the notes, the mannerisms, the style, the feel, everything is part of what goes in when you really learn a piece of music
So this goes back to learning by ear, to listening.
Yes, it does. And I think that's the strongest thing you can do if you want to develop yourself as a musician. Even classical players should do it more. And I've met a number of classical players whose performance is fabulous. Interpretation is just sight reading something right off the page, and it sounds like a finished product.
Yeah.
But they may not necessarily be able to sit and wail the 12-bar blues on their violin or whatever it is, just because they haven't asked themselves to go in that direction. Not because they can't do it, but because you get better at what you pursue. Yeah. And the vocal part of what Billy and I have both been doing with our instruments is what has helped us be melodic.
Right. Bill, can you...
Mark, can I direct something?
So yeah, go ahead. It's your show.
Zoom, playing over Zoom and stuff like that. And I'd just like to sort of say something before we show you something. Is that it's really hard because of the slow transmission. If you want, and when people do stuff over Zoom, often it's prepared beforehand, or there'll be two people in the same room, or they're playing to pre-recorded accompaniment. But just to show you what happens, let's play a tune, guy. Okay, over Zoom.
Bill, experimented with.
This is great.
All right.
Okay, this is simple. Let's do Sonora's Blues. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and
wait a minute, I have to be in beat. Hold on.
Okay. This is a song I wrote. It was from a film that both Guy and I do film scoring, and this is one I wrote for a film that they ended up not using. Okay, 1, 2, 1. About a full bar behind me. How much you think? Did everybody hear that? It's also, we're not really set up to do it. We should have, if we were to do this for real, we should have headphones on. But he's about a full measure behind me. That's how I'm perceiving it.
Well, the problem is also that Zoom doesn't want to hear two sounds at the same time coming from different places.
That's
so right. Your sound was pretty strong, but guys kept cutting in and out. So,
right,
yeah.
I heard that too. But let's do something. We have a concert in Ohio that we're supposed to do in February, and instead we put together a video that we're gonna doing a whole hour-long program of videos. And Guy has been being the videographer for this, and this is the kind of thing you do see online where people are called overdubbing. Someone will play a part, and everyone else will play. They'll hear the recording of that part. They'll play along to it, not in real time, but recorded. So this is what we did. Guy played a guitar track and he sent it to me, and we both have recording studios, and I recorded on top of this track. So this will sound good, hopefully. Wayne, can you play My Romance? And hopefully this won't have the same sound problems that we found in the other one.
Yeah.
Wayne, I don't know if you heard.
Okay, yes, yeah, we're almost ready. One more second.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, here we go.
So this is assembled.
Here's a song that Billy and I have never played together before.
Ever?
We thought we'd try something new for the sake of the video. So this is a beautiful song by Rodgers and Hart called My Romance. And it was first introduced in a movie that was filmed back in 1935 called Jumbo. And when the movie was remade in 1962, it gave Doris Day a chance to also perform the song. So here we go. My Romance, I'll start.
Hey, guy.
Wayne, I seem to have disappeared. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
I
yes,
can,
Yeah,
hear you. I can see you too.
Oh, there I am. I'm up to the top now. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we're going to bring you back up.
That's all right. I don't care. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. That's great. That was really, really, really nice. Let's change. I want to change the topic a little bit just for a second, at least, because Billy, you mentioned that you both do film scores. And I know that you've also written a couple ballets and that have been performed where in China and New York and Mars and I don't know, all over the place. Amazing. But you also did something that I think was quite remarkable, and it's really what kind of cemented our friendship. And that was doing the jug band arrangement of Peter and the Wolf for Dave Van Ronk. If any of you don't know Dave Van Ronk, the late Dave Van Ronk was the gravelly voiced folk blues singer who in many ways initiated the ragtime guitar revival of the movement of the 1960s. And a powerful singer, a great presence. And he had this dream or this idea from some state of mind in the 60s to arrange Peter and the Wolf for jug band. I got involved in it as a potential producer, and in meeting with Dave, we needed somebody to take this symphonic work and make it jug bandable. And I said, how about Billy Novick? And Van Ronk went, yeah, that'd be good. And Billy said, sure, why not? And he did it. And it was quite remarkable. It was, if you haven't heard it, I guess it's available somewhere, maybe on Amazon. But
You can find that. You can also
a little
find
bit
it
about
on
that
YouTube.
process. What?
You can find it on YouTube, I think, also.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So what was that
Oh,
process
what about-
like?
Well, it's really weird. I listen to it now. Honestly, I say, how did I do that? It was like, but I do remember it had a score. I mean, it's like, not why. Why is the second question? But it's like, I don't know. I had the score and I sort of decided what the instrumentation should be. And it was jug. And Mark played guitar on it. And Dave actually didn't play anything. He was just the narrator. And we had fiddle and we had added banjo later on. Am I missing anybody?
Well, I played some banjo stuff, fiddle.
Right.
Jay played fiddle and mandolin.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I thought it was.
You played penny whistle and juice harp.
I played clarinet, yeah, penny whistle,
yeah.
Kazoo and stuff like that.
Right.
And penny, I don't know. I went through Prokofiev and found out what chords we couldn't use and replaced chords that we could use. In other words, Prokofiev's music is very, very sophisticated, obviously, and I kind of pared it down to what would work for the instruments, but I also sort of left a lot of it in there. I gave each, just as in the original, each animal, person, whatever, has their own theme, and I used different instruments to give the themes. I played penny whistle for birds. I played kazoo for, who did I play kazoo for? Hunters, is that right?
No, the Hunters was.
Oh, my voice.
Hunters. Oh yeah, that's the wolf.
That
That's
was the scariest thing.
There were
That's the
three
wolf,
of them.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, it was tricky adapting the themes because the themes aren't exactly, I think Prokofiev, if someone's going to correct me, wrote in pantonality, which sometimes means two or more keys happening, suggesting two or more keys happening at once. That wouldn't work with like jug band. So I kind of had to take away some of that, but replaced it with things that jug band can offer, maybe more, you know, a lot more humor, a lot more sort of like silliness. And I was pretty happy with it. Dave was happy with it too, I guess.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a challenge. That was my initiation into producing children's albums. In fact,
right,
period. It was my baptism of fire, I like to tell people.
And also you had to read music, right? You had charts.
Well, that was interesting. I want to move on from this, but that was interesting because what Billy did was he actually wrote out everybody's parts. And I, as the producer, sent them to him. And you made a cassette for everybody, playing it on piano so that they could hear what their part was supposed to sound like. And then everyone showed up at my house to rehearse, and nobody had looked at the music. They may have looked at the music, but nobody listened to the cassettes. Nothing. It was like we were starting at square one. It was like a caper movie in which all of the people with the different specialties, the dynamite guy and the getaway guy and the lookout guy. They don't know what they're going to be doing, but they all show up and then they find out that they have this common goal and they put it together. And that's what you led us through. I mean, you made it happen. Couldn't have happened without you. It was
Oh,
incredible.
thanks.
Really incredible.
Well, the other thing is that I had in my mind, I think Dave might have mentioned this, like, wouldn't it be great to take this on tour and have a core group of people, which would be me, Mark, and Dave, and pick up, well, probably jug player too, whatever, but have a core group
Luke.
of people and take it different cities. It would be like a Broadway show. You just put the music in front of the other players and they do it. So I had books just like a theater would, you know, Broadway books and stuff like that. And I was, hang on, I can't give like a book of written music to a jug player and expect them to sight read it, you know, without any rehearsals. So that didn't go very far. But I still have it in my practice studio, you know.
Well, we did do it at Lincoln Center for Kids.
We did, yes, yeah.
And
yeah.
here in Burlington, Vermont.
Right.
So, Guy, I got to ask you about this one. We can't get away without this. Another of the mind-blowing, ear-boggling things that you did early on was Stars and Stripes Forever. So speaking of taking something from one genre and changing it radically so that, or making it fit a completely different kind of genre, that's what you managed to do, just as Billy shrunk down Peter and the Wolf without losing its integrity. You did the same thing with the Stars and Stripes Forever. How the hell did you do that?
Well, I did it from a record of the Michigan State Marching Band playing the march. I didn't go for the sheet music or anything. I went for the sounds and I went for the rhythms. And I mean, John Philip Sousa, it sounds like it would be a terribly complicated thing to do, and it is. But I simplified it to its essence, really, which is what are the chord changes? They do come along very fast, but they're legitimate, you know, chord changes, and it has melodies. And I took the same fingerstyle technique that I had learned from Chet Atkins, and I just applied it to that music. The most difficult part really was deciphering the band and reducing it down to I've only got 6 strings, where you're talking about a 24-piece marching band. So I had to condense the music. Yeah. And that is really was the main trick, was figuring out what to leave out or what to simplify in order to fit it on the guitar. But a lot of it would just plain fit on the guitar. If you listen to the first part of it, and I don't play it like a march, but I just go. It's playable. It's very doable. The challenge comes when you try to make it sound like a march, and that was the rest of where I felt like I was very successful, was to get the guitar to really, really charge itself up, you know, and that was what got audiences clapping along with it, and kind of made it into a performance piece. Because I'll tell you, it started out as a joke, really. I had found myself playing a lot of ragtime guitar. This was when the movie The Sting had come out with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. And so audiences, when I would play a solo guitar concert, sooner or later somebody would say, "Play The Sting." And of course, there is no piece called The Sting, but what they meant was play some ragtime music, because that was in the early 70s. Scott Joplin was enjoying his resurgence in the public eye. And it was piano music, but I was taking the piano music and analyzing it the same way. It's chords and it's melody, and you put them together and get as much of it as you can on the guitar while you're still keeping it musical. So I was playing Joplin rags, and they are very difficult. It's hard to play one because you've got complex bass lines and melodies and stuff going at the same time. And I found that after someone in the audience would say, "Play The Sting," and I would start a rag, I could kind of sense the attention of the audience wandering a little bit, just because it takes 4 or 5 minutes to play one of those. And every section gets repeated. And I kind of noticed that people were beginning to, wonder what they were going to have for dinner and things like that at the same time that I was playing. There was a little bit of loss of focus, even though they did want to hear the music and to a certain extent enjoyed it. They enjoyed it still more than I did, because it's intermediate level piano music. but it's fiendishly complicated to play. It's like full-blown classical guitar music if you try to play it on one of these. So I decided I would have, I would make a kind of a joke that I could do and see if I could have more fun doing something like that in front of the audience. And I had been sitting just playing blues guitar with a friend of mine in our kitchen at one point, and we got into what we call ragging the classics, which is where you just take themes, you know, take a piece of Chopin or anything that you want to play and just try it out on the guitar just to fool around. And eventually we got around to be kind to your web-footed friends, 'cause a duck may be somebody's mother, you know. And we laughed, and then he packed up and went home. But the idea stayed with him, and I thought, well, what's the difference between a rag and a march? There isn't that much difference, really. So I thought, that's a pretty good march, actually. That would be a very kind of a typical march, a strong contender for, if you're going to play a march, play that one. So I looked in the record shelf, and sure enough, there was the Michigan State Band record, and I stayed up with it all night long. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, I remember I knew where everything was. I couldn't play it. Of course, I couldn't perform it, but I knew that all the different sections of the piece were going to work. Even the piccolo part, which it seems like, how can you possibly do that? But if you listen to a good guitarist, a good classical guitarist play a Bach two-part invention, he's doing the same thing, or she's doing the same thing. And so I just thought, well, it's just two different melodies, top and bottom, instead of the ones that Bach wrote. I'll do the ones that Sousa wrote. And sure enough, it turned out to be possible to work out the various hand positions. So eventually I had the whole thing together, and I remember I used to I didn't have a washing machine at that time, so I used to walk the laundry down the street to the laundromat, and I'd take my guitar with me, and I would sit with the machines running, so I figured nobody could hear me, and I would just practice that march by the hour until I got it so I could actually play it. And that's how it came about. But still, the main thing about it is to play it like a march with lots of stomping and really, really, you know, get the audience going.
Yeah.
And lucky for me, it also got Chet Atkins going because he heard about it.
Well,
And
somebody just wrote and asked if you ever met Chet.
oh yes, I met Chet because Chet wanted to learn that piece. And so I went to Chet. I was called to Chet's office, and I went, and we got to be friends. And he invited me over to the house a bunch of times. And I have a photograph up on my wall that was taken by another person in the room of Chet and I sitting in his kitchen with me showing him the various positions of the Stars and Stripes, and he very carefully memorizing what I was doing. And we stayed friends for the rest of his life, which was over 25 years. We were on a call him up on the phone basis.
Mm.
So, you've got me at the edge of my seat. Play a few bars, please. Stars and Stripes.
Of the Stars and Stripes?
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I don't even know. This takes more warming up than I've done here, people.
Okay.
There you go.
Ain't as young as we used to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should we be taking questions now?
Well, yes, this leads us into some questions I was thinking we're getting probably towards the end. So I see a question here, which is a good one. And that is, I'm going to read it verbatim. Did you ever get tired of each other after playing music together for so many years?
No, Gabriella. Love that one. Yeah, occasionally. I mean, yeah. But we've never done like a zillion gigs, you know, so I think at our most, we maybe did like, maybe 80 gigs a year or something like that. And we do weddings, you know, and it'd be like, you know, not often though. I mean, I'm pretty honest about stuff like that. And
yeah.
I can't think of any time where I really sort of said, oh, you know, it's like, and we get along very well personally, very I always say we're like yin and yang in many ways. You know, I used to be a vegetarian guy. I used to eat meat a lot and stuff like that. I used to sleep late. I used to get up early. He'd sleep late. I'm heavily into sports and stuff like that. But it was always very, very compatible, fortunately. Which, you know, wouldn't have lasted nearly as long if it wasn't. You know, it doesn't take much to get people to stop playing with one another.
No, but we were
Indeed.
also, neither one of us are competitive about it at all. And curiously, neither one of us particularly wanted to be stars. Because when I met Billy, he had already played nationally with the David Bromberg band, you know, the Fillmore West and all these big gigs and everything. And he had left that by then. And I never really had any ambitions of that sort to get. In fact, several times Bill and I have turned down opportunities that we just decided, hey, you know, we were honest with each other. Said, do you really want to do that? And, you know, like, do you really want to do 15 minutes in Las Vegas, 15 weeks in Las Vegas, opening for Steve Martin? And Billy said, well, no. And I said, well, no, neither do I. I don't want to do that. I got stuff happening right here and I'd rather do that. So I think we've always been totally open and honest with each other. And we don't spend much time other than musical time together at all, because we've always lived in different cities and or different parts of the Boston area, at least, and pretty much just gone our separate ways and chance to get together and talk to each other and catch up and see what's going on. And I think the honesty, and also the other thing I would say is that the music that we've chose to play, swing music, is music. Well, it was originally designed, you know, during the early years of the 20th century, during the wars and the Depression and everything. And this was music that was designed to sustain people, to keep them happy, to make them happy at movies, and to let them dance and enjoy going out together. So we've always played very enjoyable music. We've never gone political with it or anything, and maybe that's not always a good thing. Maybe, you know, there are times when you need to make a statement. And I do remember, Billy, you wrote one penny whistle tune called "The Ronald Reagan Can't Be Real." But other than that, I don't think we've ever gone in any direction except that the music should be fun and enjoyable. And so our gigs have always been fun and enjoyable with each other. And it's
Right.
all a question of good humor and good playing.
Yeah.
Right. We don't take it too seriously also, fortunately. I can't take anything too seriously like that. And I think we also believe that, I mean, I'm an entertainer. I love entertaining people. I don't really, I mean, people say you're an artist or something. And I don't know. I like making people feel better when they came in. Sorry, better when they leave than when they came in. So
Well,
it's
that's
like both have
exactly
that sensibility. We're not like posing as anything, you know. It's like, don't have like these, I mean, I'm artsy in many ways, obviously, but you're creative. But you know, we don't have any of these grand like people don't like. Why don't people like appreciate our music or anything like that? You know, we try to make it so people can appreciate it. It's kind of part. I look at the kind of music we play, where we play. That's kind of our job: to make your music and don't do what you love to do it well, but also make sure people like it.
So what will the post-COVID Van Duser and Novick keep just trucking along?
Well, the music is, you know, the music is already 100 years old that we play, you know, our mainstay type of music. So we don't have to worry about, it's gone in and out of style about 4 or 5 times. It'll just come around again probably. And we both enjoy playing it, and it's we still are very, very good friends. I don't think we've ever really had a quarrel of any kind. So
Not really,
my
no.
answer to you, Mark, would be, why not?
Good,
Why
because I plan
why
to have
should
you
we
up here
stop,
after.
you know? Why should we
All
stop?
right, let's book.
People would
We
like-
book it now.
I'm going to get you back up here again. It's been too long. Let's see if I can find what some of these questions. Somebody mentions that you have a Stride guitar book. We should mention that, Guy. Is that still available?
I believe it's an online download now, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's still around. I wrote that. It's been in print ever since, or in some published fashion ever since 1981. So
All right.
it's nice to feel like I've had a book in print for 40 years. It's kind
Yeah. But anyone who gets it should listen to the music too. Why do you call it Stride guitar? We haven't mentioned that.
Oh, because one of my interests, particularly from that same swing era, was listening to the great pianists at that time. People like Teddy Wilson, for example, who played what they called stride piano, and that was the alternating left hand would play the bass. That, you know, it was an outgrowth of ragtime piano, and it's the natural style that I fell into with the thumb picking style from Chet Atkins. And nobody had used the term yet, and people kept introducing me as a ragtime guitarist, and I only knew two rags. So I thought, you know, I need something a little broader as far as a category goes, and so I called it stride guitar, and it stuck. It hit the wall and stuck. So there you are.
All right, good. Well, I'm trying to listen to you and look at the questions at the same time, and there are a lot of statements, not too many questions. What keeps you inspired? Somebody wants to know. That would be Linda.
Linda Gatsky, sure. Hi, Linda. Well, you know, I look at this sort of like both Guy and I have given up like a lot to be musicians. I mean, you know, we could have had careers where you make money and stuff like that and have more regular lifestyles. I'm not into like, I mean, if it was up to me, I wouldn't stay out at night late. I wouldn't travel as much as we have to do. I wouldn't go up to Maine for a 3-hour gig and drive back right afterwards. Mike Regenstrief, if you're still out there, you'd book us for gigs in Montreal, which we love doing. And we'd have an early morning gig, a TV show, and three college noontime, you know, afternoon concerts, and something at night. And we do it all in one day, drive down in the morning and drive back at night. So I'm not like into the musician lifestyle so much, but I love music, and I feel it's like a way to really kind of tap into myself, and, you know, being able to sort of like just try to stay creative, try to stay fresh is like and also to grow musically, you know, hear things I didn't hear before, come up with different decisions, kind of artistic sort of choices. And that's what it's a lifelong pursuit, which I'll never even come close to finishing, but that's what sort of inspires me.
Yeah.
Same here. I like to keep working at the guitar. I'm reminded of the comment that Pablo Casals, the great cellist, made when he was 90. And somebody asked him why he still practiced the cello at 90 years old. And he said, because I think I'm making progress.
Right.
Well, I used actually something just with someone the other day, one of my former students, a friend. And I said, well, you know, I have these moments. I mean, I struggle most of the time. I think, God, I should be better. I have these moments where I feel like I sound fantastic. I'm totally happy. I feel like I have something to offer, but they're only moments. Sometimes that happen in my living room. You know, it's like, God, could I just have more of those moments? You know, maybe 50% of the time it's like that. Why can't I make it 70%? That's what I play for. That's what I practice for, to have more of those moments that no one else really knows or even probably cares about. You know, but it's for me. You know, I feel like I've really done what I want to do for those, whatever, 3 minutes, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, I've really been enjoying your postings on Facebook, both alone, your solo, and then you did some with your son, Ben, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And with your daughter, Rose?
Rose, yeah.
All right, I got them.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Anybody who's Billy's friend on Facebook ought to check out the music that's available
Well,
there.
thanks. It's been, these are pandemic sort of inspired experiences. How can I've started playing solo clarinet stuff. I always had an inclination to do that, but here it's great. It keeps me active and involved and creative and stuff like that. You know, like my grown kids were home just by quirk of fate during the worst part of the pandemic, and my son's a wonderful musician, clarinet player. So what do? We take advantage and do duets. You know, there's not really playing with any bands right now, really, for the last 8 months even.
Okay, I'm getting the word from Wayne that we should be wrapping up, but there are 2 questions, if you could quickly answer them, which has to do with your film work. What films have you done scores for, and can you just talk briefly a little bit, each of you, about that?
Okay, mostly I've been like hired as an arranger and orchestrator. Our good friend Mason Daring is a film composer. He does all of John Sayles' films. I don't know if you've seen him. I've worked, so as an orchestrator, it involves sometimes I'll end up writing some music for it. Mostly I sort of take his what he's written and adapt it for scenes and do actual orchestrations, choose what instruments to do. But
8 Men Out, that was one, right?
8 Men Out, yeah. John's movies I've worked on. Oh God, so many I can't remember. Honey Drippers. John did a lot of kind of odd, interesting movies about like one set in the Philippines, one set in lots of different, you know, things set in different places, and they all require very specific kind of ethnic kind of music, which I had to learn because John's really knowledgeable with that stuff. So worked on those. More mainstream music movies. I worked on something called A Walk on the Moon. Wish I'd prepared this. Something, Music of the Heart with Meryl Streep. I worked on that one. It's about over probably 50 movies that I probably wrote to picture for, but also, again, just usually orchestrating, but also I write for a music library. It's based in Germany that licenses music. I write to places all over the world. So those things have appeared in Seabiscuit, Boiler Room, all sorts of, kind of big time movies, which I can't remember anyone what they are aside from Seabiscuit right now.
And Guy, what about you?
Yeah, well, a lot of my work has been for public television rather than feature movies. I've done many programs for such as Nova and the American Experience, and I've also worked as a studio musician for other people producing music for programs of that kind. I also spent 20 years working for Disney in their children's language department, making videos teaching English as a second language in other countries, particularly in the Asian countries. And in that regard, I was the soundtrack writer for whatever. Oh gosh, I guess 30 or 40 videos in various language series over a 20-year period. As I say, teaching English by immersion. So I didn't do the Lion King. Sorry, you can't find me there, but I have done a great deal of that. And both Billy and I also do studio work whenever somebody is making a recording and wants to hear our sound as part of their mix. He and I both have done a lot of that kind of thing just on call. And again, it would be too hard to start naming people, but over the past 45 years, there's been a lot of it.
Cool. Well, we can all keep our ears open for that sound. But Bill, it's your sound. It's your clarinet on the Antiques Roadshow. Am I right?
It is, yes, yeah.
And it's unmistakable. As soon as I heard it, I said, that's got to be Billy Novick.
That's right.
Yeah, that was written by our friend Tom Phillips. And Tom's hired us to do lots of different things. And that's the one that kind of keeps on, easy to identify. But Tom writes incredible stuff.
Right. Tom hires both of us to come in and play on those. So the guitar you hear on that is me, and the clarinet you hear is Billy, and a lot of the incidental music for it too, and for other things.
Right.
Of that genre.
Great. And as a studio player, I've probably also, I think, played on over 200 recordings by sort of singer-songwriters and all sorts of things for public television and commercials and stuff like that. Never thought any of that would ever happen. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I saw Freddie Fender on your list, and I wanted to ask you about that, but that'll be another time because I think I think we're overstaying our Zoom time here. So I want to thank you both. This has been great. It's really a pleasure to talk with you and hear you play. I can't wait till I can really hear you play live, and I just encourage everybody out there who probably doesn't need any encouragement to go hear Guy Van Duser and Billy Novick whenever you can. Buy their CDs, their T-shirts, their tote bags, whatever kind of crap they're trying to get you to buy. And thanks, Wayne, for letting me be part of this.
Well, thank you to Mark and Guy and
Mark.
This really was incredible. Very much appreciate having you here, and just a closing thought that at the end there, where you each spoke about what inspires you and keeps you going. You kind of validated the hypothesis that why we invited you. We thought there was some kind of common thread. It didn't matter what your artistic medium was, whether it's painting, fashion design, music, poetry, whatever it is. It's that quest to look inside and just keep going and find some way of making it better, expressing it more completely. And
well said,
Wayne. Really great to hear.
Yeah.
Great to hear.
Well, thanks.
So thank you very much.
Thank you to all. Thanks to Mark, man. That was wonderful to kind of connect. You did a great job.
Really nice.
And thanks so much to all the people that tuned in. This is incredible. It's like really is all these names, and fortunately I don't get to see many of your faces, but it's really, wow, so many people who who've been a big part of our past are community supported us through all these years, and we've lucky that we're sort of friendly with have some kind of relationship with almost all our fans. It seems like so it's been great.
Well said.
Thank you all for
Very well.
Yeah, yes, and if you guys aren't totally worn out, our practice here is to leave the Zoom open, and if people want to just connect with each other, we like to socialize. So
I'd love to.
go ahead and do that as people like. But
I'd
thank
love
you
to,
very
sure.
much. And
Yeah.
for those of you who have stuck around, thank you for being patient. We welcome you back next month for Live Big, Think Big, a whole show on creativity. And this one is going to be highly interactive. So we're going to sort of turn the tables around next month, and lots of other good stuff at our website. So we encourage people to check us out. Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome, and thanks so much for having us, Wayne. Thanks for having us. It's great.
I'm going to say goodbye, but Guy, Billy,
Okay.
let's stay in touch.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Good to see
Great
you,
to
Mark.
see you.
So long, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. And everyone who wants to, feel free to unmute yourself and say hi and chat if you'd like.